name is Jody Souza. I am the Education and Event Manager with SCORE. I'm super excited this morning. Dr. Michael Soonley reached out and said, hey, let's put on a real estate forum. He's been doing these at some other associations. So he and I worked together and put together a great panel with different agents and lenders and title, just to give everybody some updates about what's going on. And you know, the positive outlook that we have at this point on all things real estate. Before I introduce Michael, I want to let you know this is the real estate forum this morning. It's from 10 to 12. And if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. Myself and Aram are watching all of those come in. And I do want to let you know about another webinar that we have coming up that I think is a good tie-in to this one. So next Tuesday we have Will Che, who is a SCORE Board of Director, and he also sits on the CAR Forms Committee, which everybody's now familiar with our new forms. And he has Neil Kalin, who is a senior advisor for the CAR Forms Committee and is an attorney, and he's going to come on and also talk about all things COVID forms, PEDS forms, answer all the questions that you have. So you can sign up for that, score.com/calendar, and that's up there. It's free for anyone to attend. So hear the latest and greatest directly from the Forms Committee. And I'd like to introduce Michael now. Dr. Michael Soonley is a CRS DRI. He's been a successful broker and real estate agent for over 40 years. He's a sales and marketing consultant who helps agents increase profitability using cost-effective marketing techniques. He's been a speaker here at SCORE multiple times. He's trained over 10,000 agents around the world. He's written multiple books, including the Black Belt Negotiation, 111 Ways to Justify Your Commission, which you shouldn't have to do. You guys are worth every dollar. And cross-cultural selling for dummies. So without further ado, thank you, Michael, for being here, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Jody. Welcome, everybody. Just a quick reminder, I want to thank our sponsors for making this possible and making it free to you as agents. Bank of the West, Golden One Credit Union, First American Home Warranty, TAPS Termite, and HomeGuard Incorporated. And so just a quick word from HomeGuard.
This is Ashley Stephenson from HomeGuard Incorporated. Thank you for having us. HomeGuard has over 30 years of experience working in this industry. We've grown to be known as the one-stop resource for ordering termite property, roof inspections, natural hazard disclosures, and home warranties. With so many services, the more you order, the more you save. Discounts if you pay at the time of inspection. Repairs ordered through our personalized concierge service can be billed to escrow, so there's never any out-of-pocket costs for your clients. HomeGuard understands value, time, convenience, which is why we're an industry leader filled with resources. www.homeguard.com, Facebook, Instagram, Yelp, or LinkedIn.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And again, welcome everyone. Just a couple of housekeeping things. Probably best, as Jody mentioned, you can put your questions into the question box for any of the panelists or just in general, and we'll pick up the ones that are the most applicable generally. Also, to best view this webinar, if you hit the speaker view in the upper right-hand corner, that will let you see the speakers who are actually talking at the moment rather than all of the other folks that are online. And also, if you have any problems, Aram Boyd, who is our manager of this webinar today, he will help you with anything you've got. Just send him a note on the chat line if you have anything. So I want to welcome our sales panel. So what we're going to do today, we're going to have 4 different panels, 30 minutes of salespeople, top salespeople in your area. Then we're going to move on to a little bit of escrow and title. What's going on with them? How are things changing because of COVID-19? What's going to happen after we come out of this? Then we're going to have a lender panel to talk about all of the changes that are going on lending. And you've probably noticed a few of those if you've been doing much business right now. And then finally, we're going to come back in the last half an hour to another 3 different realtors who are killing it in the real estate business, who are going to talk about the future of real estate. What's going to happen after we come out of this? And trust me, I've been in real estate for 44 years. I've seen a lot of good and a lot of bad, and yet through any of that, we always come out the other side. So please rest assured that we will survive and thrive, and that's the purpose of this forum. So let me introduce to you Zaid Hanna, who's with Real Estate 38, Helen Chong with Halen Real Estate Investments, and Karen Nelson, who's with Intero Real Estate Services. Welcome, everybody. I do have a question for you all. First of all, what is going on with the real estate market in your area? Are you finding that things are the same, less than they were before COVID-19, or better than? So Karen, what do you think?
Well, over here in Area 1, which is Morgan Hill through Gilroy, from March 17th, from the beginning of the year till July 20th, we sold last year 613 units. This year we've sold 566 units. So there's a difference of 47 units. It's starting to come back stronger. Last month in June, we sold 145 units went pending. Same time last year, 111 went pending. So the market is a little bit behind, but we're catching up. From this month, from July 1st to July 20th, this year we've sold 74, same amount exactly last year. From July 1st to July 20th, we sold 74. So even though we're pushed back in March, we sold from March 18th to the 31st, we sold 30 till the 31st, we sold 38 units. Same time last year, we sold 43. In April, it was a little bit skewed because everybody was kind of scared. This year, 63, last year, 106. And in May, so April and May were probably the worst couple of months, 69 this year, 129 last year. But all in all, our market is now coming back stronger, and we're at the same place where we were last year in July right now, from July 1st to July 20th. So
congratulations.
We're good.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I mean, for those people that are sitting on the sidelines and saying, I'm going to wait until this is over, I think you've just proven you're wasting your time. Get out there, do business, but be safe and follow the rules.
Definitely, definitely.
Zaid, how about for you? How's your business doing?
Were you talking to me?
There I am. So the activity in San Jose, generally speaking, it has picked up quite a bit. There's absolutely no inventory. A couple of weeks back, we literally reverted from 740 active and 710 pending. Today, we're about 740 pending with 710 actives. This is everything: condos, townhouses, single family residences. Simply people, there's been a pent-up demand in the past 6 months, and a lot of the major cities, they're looking at the suburbs, whether it's San Jose South or East Bay, they're just leaving the big cities. So if you have a single family resident, it's on fire. If it's a 1-bedroom condo, it's sitting on the market. If it's a townhouse with a slight backyard, it's actually still not bad. So market is on fire. It's unbelievable. We've never seen more pendings than actives in San Jose in the past. It's crazy.
Wonderful. Well, congratulations to you as well, Zaid.
Yeah.
Helen, how about for you? How's your business been?
Same here. It's funny that how in the beginning everybody thought that real estate market is going to be dead, but then now we notice that because of the interest rate has dropped so much, that is really a big motivation for a lot of buyers to come out to the market. And on top of that, after 3 months shelter in place, those people who may be living in an apartment or condo, they realize that they really need more space. So we do find a lot of people requesting to go find properties because they need a bigger yard, they need a bigger house, they need a different floor plan. So definitely see a lot of activities just like Karen and Zaid have been experiencing.
Well, congratulations to you as well. That's why you're on the panel. You are just killing it. So tell me, Helen, what do you think is the buyer mindset right now? What are you feeling? What are your clients saying?
So a lot of our clients, buyers, really motivated again because of the mortgage interest rate. You haven't seen a mortgage interest rate below 3% for 30 years fixed. And I see that our clients are very eager to find something. They're actually very excited. They don't want to miss out on that, getting the below 3%. So a lot of them are out there looking very actively. Although, of course, like the whole process is different now. We have to do a lot more, a procedure with the PED form, and also have to look at properties maybe virtually first before we go out and take a look at it. But it's not deterring them from looking at properties. And I feel like buyers, especially in this area, they adapt so fast. So it's like as if like we've been doing this for a long time, but they are totally fine with it.
It's amazing. Actually, frankly, I love this market because there's no open houses.
Yeah.
And if a buyer wants to see a house, what do they have to do?
They have to use an agent. And I actually, same thing. I really love the fact that now they have to have an agent to show them the property.
Yeah, and they have to give you a legitimate email address and a phone number. I am just loving it. Karen, what about buyers for you? What do you think?
You know what? We're doing a lot more online Zoom upfront. We're doing a lot more upfront than we did before, but I think it's better. I mean, big companies have done Zooms and FaceTimes forever, and they're very successful at it. But now all of our buyers are pre-approved. We have them drive by the homes. They check out all the advertising online, and by the time we take them out, they're pretty invested. So to me, it's a lot easier to sell our buyers homes, because a lot of the disclosures, everything is done up front. So they're more interested once we get to the point where we're actually going to show them. So, yeah. I mean, I love the market. I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of agents, though, sitting on the sidelines going, I'm waiting until this is over. You're missing out on a huge bet.
Yeah, there's some buyers that are a little bit skittish, but interest rates at 50-year lows, I mean, you know what? They shouldn't be waiting. And that's what I tell people. But you don't push them, they're going to do what they want. But it's still good.
Don't wait.
Nope.
How are you dealing with the additional paperwork? That's the only thing I don't really care for, but it's necessary.
I have a great assistant. Yeah, and she keeps me in line and makes sure I get all my paperwork. So you know what? Yeah, we have really good systems, and I have a great assistant. So it works. We don't let anything fall under the cracks.
I'm going to use my assistant more, I think.
Yeah.
Zaid, how are you dealing with this, and how are your buyers?
Well, everything has shifted in the sense that they used to go to the open house and call us up and say, write up the offer, versus now they send us a list of 5, 6, 7. And my 4 buyers agents, they're always complaining about PED form and how the listing agents are not as cooperative. Some of the agents are doing Calendly, and even that, you have 3 people lined up outside the door while they had that appointment. I mean, it's a mess. We're trying to figure out what's the best method, but I told them that they will probably work twice as hard this year to make the same income. And that's the mindset. It's definitely becoming a bit more challenging with all the issues that we're dealing with, but it's the new norm. So get used to it. It is what it is moving forward. But they're definitely active. There are multiple factors. One, NASDAQ is at an all-time high, so therefore their down payment is high. Interest rate is low, so the same $1 million property, it's $500 cheaper on a monthly basis. And they're just sick and tired of their neighbor that's either screaming or their child is screaming and the neighbor is screaming at them. I mean, it's definitely the wants and needs have grown quite a bit from what we have seen. So all the people that were looking at condos and townhouses, now they've shifted to say, I want a single family. So the ones that are urgently in need and their bank account are healthy, they're actually executing.
Great. Zaid, is there any way you can get closer to your microphone? You're sounding a bit hollow.
Is this better?
It is better. Thank you. So what about sellers? What do you think the sellers are feeling right now?
Is that to me?
Yes.
It depends on what seller category you fall into. We have the relocation, the folks that are leaving the Bay Area. They're actually moving with hesitation because they're saying, I'm not jumping on the airplane and going to Austin or North Carolina or heck, even Sacramento to do the due diligence. I don't know where I'm going yet. I barely have any mortgage on my home. So I'm just going to stay put to figure this out until maybe after the elections. So we're seeing some of those folks. A lot of our sellers, they do have the fear that recession equals housing crisis. They have that in their mind because 2008 was all too soon. So we have to educate them better to execute without fear. So that is, it may not happen. So they're fearing that the prices may come down and they're selling sooner than later. But the moved up sellers are actually afraid to put their home on the market because there's nothing to buy. So they're asking us to go ahead and put a contingent offer through. And if you're competing with 10 other offers with no contingencies with 50% down, automatically you're in the bottom of that list. So it's kind of this feeding itself with less and less inventory as we move forward into December and January.
Thank you. Karen, what about you? How are you getting sellers? They seem to have, when the coronavirus hit, it dropped off a cliff. They seem to be very afraid of having anybody in their home. How's it now?
You know what? I don't think it's very bad. We're taking all the precautions we can as far as people not touching things, masks, gloves. You know what? I don't think I'm seeing that as much as maybe others are. The sellers that wanted to sell seriously are still in the market to sell. Now, a lot of them did think that the market was going to go down, so they wanted to hurry up and get it on the market and sell it because they didn't want prices to go down. We're not seeing that though. Actually, to be honest with you, prices are stronger now than they were. So it's been pretty easy with the sellers. I haven't had any sellers say, I want to wait until this is over. Now, I'm sure agents have. I just haven't had that happen to me yet.
Interesting.
We're just chugging along, getting the houses ready and then putting them on as they're ready. And it's been fine. Yeah. We're pretty good here.
Ellen, have you had any sellers saying, I'm going to wait till this is over?
Definitely. We definitely have some sellers saying that they would like to wait, not because of the pricing issue. It's mostly because of the cautious about like people coming into the home. For those who are selling, they definitely is because they have to. They are moving no matter what, so they definitely have to put it on the market, and they would much rather move out first, make sure the property is vacant before they put it on the market. So I definitely have talked to a few sellers that they said they wanted to wait until the health situation is a little bit better before they put it on the market.
And so what's your answer to that? I want to put it on the market. What about the people that are on the fence?
On the fence, like in terms of, I don't know about how the market's going to do.
Yeah, or, I'm not sure I want to put it on the market now. Advise me one way or the other.
Well, when the seller is afraid about putting it on the market because of a lot of people coming through, obviously we have to share with them the precaution that we would do. Right now, whenever we go into a property, we all wear masks, we all wear gloves. The more precaution you put and you show your seller that you're taking things very seriously, the better they're going to feel. There are people who are going to be just scared no matter what. There's nothing you can do, but you just have to be, as an agent, if you treated this as like, oh, it's no big deal, then of course they're not going to have confidence that you're going to take care of their property too, right? So no matter what, whenever we go out with any of our clients, we always wear masks, gloves, and we even actually bring our shoe covers and give it to them so that they can wear that specific shoe covers instead of wearing the ones that maybe at a property or someone else had put on before.
Okay, no, that makes a great deal of sense. And if they're not happy with that, then just, I guess they can wait. Yeah. I just want to remind our audience, if you have questions, just go ahead and put it in the questions box for our panelists who are very, very knowledgeable and very successful. Helen, what are you doing differently now to maintain and increase your success?
You know, I was in this industry actually back in 2008, and I thought that industry was way worse than this. It was 2008 to 2012. I see a lot of people falling off the cliff during these recessions is because they're not willing to adapt. Back then is that if you are going through the 2008 to 2012, you need to work with the REOs, you need to learn how to work with the short sales. Now is that you need to learn how to use computer and how to do everything virtually. So we definitely have switched a lot of our meetings and consultation online on Zoom. Actually, our clients really appreciate the fact that we're willing to do that, because not everybody wants to, everyone is trying to minimize that face-to-face, right? Or seeing each other outside. So they really like the fact that we're able to do these Zoom because you're still connecting with them. So this is probably the biggest part, is that you need to learn how to use Zoom.
Yeah, I just did a virtual tour on Sunday using my cell phone, and they loved it. And it really helped. Some people are either afraid of going into homes right now, or they're too far away. They're in Milpitas and they're trying to look at a house in San Ramon or something like that. So Karen, what are you doing differently to be successful?
Well, I think we're doing a lot more Zooms. We're doing a lot more disclosures up front. We're educating clients. And I just think, you know, having the knowledge of what's going on, being up to date on the inventory. And, you know, I mean, I spend a lot of time on the computers looking at all the information that the listings have on them. So I can relay that to my clients pretty well. And, you know, we have everything pretty much done before we take them out. And even on our listing side, we're real diligent in what we do before we put houses on the market. And you know what, I just think the relationships you make with people and if they trust you, I think they're going to listen to you. And that's pretty much what it is. It's just staying, I mean, to me, it's business as usual, just more safety involved, you know, and educating them. And I think once we do that, they have more confidence in us. And I think things go pretty smoothly.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Zaid, what are you doing differently during this time?
So we definitely have more personnel handling the listing side, as because right now when you have 40 showings in 3 days, that's 40 peds, 40 appointments. It's a lot easier with the property when it's vacant versus when the seller is in the property. So definitely more personnel that comes across. Safety is our number one. Then obviously marketing the property properly. They're still staying in the property. So whether it be staging, virtual tours, even enhanced marketing with showcasing the property differently, and even having a virtual tour on Facebook that we walk through the property and have it available. So all these things that we have implemented that didn't exist before, because we had the open house signs that will drive the people through. So technology, implementation of technology from multiple layers that has helped us.
That makes a great deal of sense. So one of the things.
You froze on this microphone.
Aram, are you able to hear me still? My screen is frozen.
You're glitching in and out, Michael. Why don't you send me the
Well, let me bring in Dave Lovelace.
Hey.
Dave, you're with Home Guard Home Inspections. Tell us what's different now with home inspections during coronavirus.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. I'm at a workstation I'm not used to, so hopefully I'm coming through okay, if you can hear me
great.
fine. Okay. Well, initially when everything hit, we did have quite a bit of a slowdown. And what we're finding now is that it's hard to keep up. We're quite busy at the moment. And we had, because of the lull, we did have a little bit of challenges trying to get our workforce organized and back together. But with performing the essential inspections to facilitate these real estate transactions, HomeGuard is really promoting health and safety first. We're doing all of the things that we possibly can think of. Our guys in the field, they're carrying antibacterial hand sanitizer. They have soap and towels that they carry so they can frequently wash their hands between stops. All of these things, clean towels, shoe covers, disposable gloves, face coverings and masks, of course. When we're performing the inspections, we of course would like to minimize the people that are on site. So as much as possible, we want to keep the parties at the properties to a minimum so that we can be safe. And certainly if there's somebody who's at risk or elderly, we can make accommodations to reschedule those inspections for a time when they're not on the property.
Is there any way you can turn on your camera? Are you wearing any clothes?
Yeah. Let's see if I can figure this out. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is not my personal workstation, so I'm a little bit unfamiliar. I didn't catch that was not on.
Not a problem. But
okay.
How are you handling the tremendous amount of transactions that it seem to be going on right now?
Yeah, that has been one of our biggest challenges right now. Our phone queue for the ordering of the inspections is completely full. So we're booked out on inspections quite a bit farther than what we normally like to be. One of our business models is to be set up to be available almost immediately. I mean, our personal goal here at HomeGuard is to get to the inspections within 3 days, if at all possible. And right now, I think we're booked out a week or so. So we are actually hiring to try to accommodate. Like I said, after the slowdown, some of our employees went different directions right away because there was the initial, shelter in place and things kind of, there was a lot of unknown, so people didn't know what to do and it was slow, but it picked right back up, after the initial few weeks there. So it's been a challenge.
Okay. So if there was one thing you would tell agents to make your life and their lives easier when it comes to home inspections, what would it be?
So I think that if you can, it's the time constraint. Be flexible with ordering the inspections, be a little bit patient with us. I think that we want to definitely utilize, our inspection reports come with photographs and we have the ability to do overviews in this type of a setting or with a phone call. So we want to make sure that we're using the resources that we have available to us to still get the work done and get the inspections performed, but try to do them in the most safe manner possible. That makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all you do for the real estate community.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let me ask our Realtor panel, are any of you using automated software to schedule your showings for your listings? Helen, you are?
I use like Calendly.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's very helpful because you have the auto email afterwards as well. I mean, it reminds the agent, and then after they finish, it sends out like an automatic email to ask for feedback. So I find them very, very useful, and it also synchronizes with your own calendar. So, I use Calendly a lot.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Zaid, Karen?
We do. No, my assistant takes care of all that, the follow-up and whatnot. So right now it's not broke, so we're not changing it.
Your assistant sounds like pretty busy.
Right, yeah, she is.
Anything automated?
We haven't adapted Calendly yet, but we're going there, but for sure Disclosure.io.
Yeah, I'm about to take a listing and I think I'm going at least that way too, because it's just too hard to really maintain that calendar, and then people change and things of that nature. So,
well, the issue is that some of the agents are not sending the peak form and they're just scheduling and going.
I know.
So that's the issue that we're seeing, is how do you control that? So one of the reasons why we haven't went automated is because we're trying to be compliant.
Yep.
Yeah, what I plan to do on my listing is I will not give out a call before showing CBS code until I get the PEAD. I mean, otherwise our liability is just incredibly high. So
Right.
something to think about. All right, so around the horn, let's just get 30 seconds. What would you do if you were a new agent in this market? Think back a ways. For some of us, that's a long ways back. But if you were a new agent, what would you be doing right now, Karen?
If I was a new agent right now, what would I be doing? I'd probably try to get involved with, if you have kids, if you have friends with groups, either, I mean, a lot of people do Zooms now. I mean, if you're not involved physically, get involved in as much social media that you can get involved in that's productive. You just have to get out there and get in front of people. I mean, and it's hard when we can't be physically present, but I think you're going to have to do a lot more of that, trying to get in front of people in different ways, social media, I mean, that talking to people that you're close to, getting the word out that you're there to help. And the more knowledge you have, hopefully at some point it will start, it'll just start to snowball. It's just going to take a little bit of time because we're not doing open houses, or we're not, you can cold call. I guess you can do some of that still, but I think I would try to get myself out in front of people virtually somehow,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Zaid, give me, what would you do if you were a new agent in this market?
I would download my contact list, categorize them, and start reaching out to them, provide value. Your new agent, they don't think of you as an agent. They think of you as whatever you were doing in the past. So reach out, create value, get to know your data in the market, and ask them if they need any help. Ask them if there are families you can help during these COVID times. Be of value so they could remember you, the realtor that helped. So that's how you clean up not clean up, but change your image from whatever you were doing before to being a realtor. Since you don't have an opportunity to go do open houses, and that used to feed a lot of new agents, that's gone. So a lot of the clients are going online. So make sure you have your online presence clean. Take your social media and political views and your pictures from the beach, take them out. Be that professional realtor because they will look you up. So I would say these two things.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Helen, if you were a new agent, what would you be doing right now?
Well, we were all once a new agent back then, right? I mean, in addition to what Karen and Zaid had said, I think they were great advice. Two things I probably would recommend is that as a new agent, you should, when I first started, I didn't work with any of my friends. Nobody wanted to work with me because I did not have that experience.
Right.
So if I look back, is that now that we have social media, just, read up all these real estate news, post them on your social media. You're the one that providing these information, even though you didn't write them. So what, you're sharing the news to your sphere of influence, right? So they know that you're passionate about real estate. They know that you're in real estate. And on top of that, I would really highly recommend this for new agent is just partner up with somebody experienced, leverage their experience. So you can say like, oh, me and my partner who've been in the industry for whatever, 8 years, 15 years. And it's okay if you have to split your commission, because once you start building that, your base, your foundation is big, you're going to start getting referrals. So I would highly recommend somebody to really partner with an experienced agent and don't worry about the commission split.
Absolutely. We had a question come in, which was, are you still running online ads? I'm still running ads because people have to call you now to see a property. And so I'm getting more calls than ever before. So I want to thank all of our guests, Karen Nelson, Helen Chong, Zaid Hanna. Thank you so much for being on our panel this morning. Everybody, let's give them.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. You guys were absolutely fabulous. I wanted to share one thing with our panel, and that is there's a statistic here. This is the home purchase index, and you can see that what's going on is that, whoops, let me just go back to that. Confidence is almost up to where it was before we started, and it looks like it's on an upward trajectory. So buyers are still out there and they want to buy a home. So keep that in mind, especially if you're a new agent. Don't give up. Try and meet people safely, but people are still buying homes and rates have never been lower. Again, thanks to our sponsors, Bank of the West, Golden One Credit Union, First American Home Warranty, TAPS Termite, and HomeGuard Incorporated. So let's bring in a different panel. Let's talk about title and escrow, because things have changed there as well, and realtors need to be aware of that. So let me bring in Ramsey Amira, Old Republic Title Vice President, Kevin Barrett, Chicago Title Sales Vice President, and Sal Covarrubias, First American Title Assistant Vice President. We have a lot of VPs in the house. Welcome, folks. So let me go and just start off, and you don't need to be nice. If somebody says something you don't agree with, jump in, it's okay. But just give me one major change. Let me ask, first of all, Ramsey, what's one major change you've seen since the coronavirus that agents need to be aware of? Ramsey?
Obviously, I think the fact that we have, other than the fact that we are an essential business, we did close down our offices to outside visitors. So we're handling things differently. I think approximately 50% of our employees are currently working from home, keeping in check with the current health order from the local county, our county at least. So that's part of it. So certainly there's been a little bit of a lag time with, getting deposit checks deposited. The fact that the county recorder in the very beginning was closed and now they're open, but they're only open till noon. So specials aren't happening. So the way we did business before has changed a little bit, and just asking for realtors' patience when dealing with transactions in the current environment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's great information. Kevin, what's one change you've seen that realtors need to be aware of?
I think the change is got to be the technology sector and how that is affecting the deal. The fact that our escrow officers are remote and some are in the branches, but they've had to adjust to a resale market that's obviously moving and a refi market that is absolutely on fire. For them to be able to handle all of this in a way and do it with a professionalism that is a standard for our industry, it's got to be the toughest thing in the business going on right now. I know realtors are busy, they got a lot going on in the resale arena, but the escrow officers themselves, I tip my cap to them, and what they juggle and how they juggle it is absolutely amazing. And I think the technology that we are seeing in today's world has really helped us, between the e-recordings that are going down to the county, to the fact that they're monitoring their email and they're actually doing sign-offs and talking to their clients. I think that part of the game has become so much faster, and and seeing it happen in a seamless fashion. I think if you look at whoever your escrow officer is, I think you should absolutely send them flowers and give them thanks, because what they're doing in a pandemic is absolutely amazing. And I really feel that's where the biggest change has happened, is the escrow officers have made this seamless. I really do. I feel like they've made it seamless. And the technology piece is something that we've adopted. I know that First American and Old Republic has done the same thing across the board with technology. And I think if you really look at the gamut of what we're able to do, it's a technology thing. I mean, all your other agents talked about Zoom, Teams, things that are happening through the technology. And I think if I were to tell anybody on this call, welcome technology and learn it, because it's not going to change. It's only going to get faster. And we've got to be able to adapt and learn.
Absolutely. Great suggestion. A lot of us, have been in this business a long time and we're a little afraid of technology, but you either learn it or you're going to be out of business. So Sal, what's one thing that agents need to be aware of now as far as title and escrow?
I would just expand a little bit, Dr. Lee, on what Ramsey and Kevin said. So that's all true in terms of people working remotely, the adoption of technology. I can't stress enough how much that's true. So definitely key there, Kevin. I would say, though, just also keep in mind, if you take a step back, that there's many moving pieces to the closing process. And so there's a lot of people that are affected by the pandemic as well in their own way. Everybody's affected. So as all those pieces come into the closing process, it skews things a little bit. So I'll give you some examples to be aware of. The first is sellers in forbearance. So when the CARES Act first came out, it was very quickly. It was in response to economic issues, and so it allowed a lot of homeowners to take advantage of forbearance. A lot of them still made their payments, some of them didn't. So sellers in forbearance, the payoff process with our lenders has changed a little bit because some of them haven't caught up just yet. So may get an updated payoff demand to us because the seller's in forbearance, and that causes some delays because the numbers are actually different. There may be some penalties or some missed payments, things of that nature that may not be reflected on the initial payoff. So if you have sellers in forbearance, please let us know. Obviously, the other piece that's been big has been the mobile notary piece, obviously, because as has been mentioned, our offices are closed for the most part. They're by appointment only. We're still having people obviously come in for earnest money deposits. We're taking all the necessary precautions, sneeze guards, PPE, et cetera, and so forth to make sure that everybody's health and safety is maintained. But just the flexibility that mobile notaries are having in terms of being creative in how and where they do their sign-offs and listening to the buyer, sellers, borrowers' needs, and those types of things. The last thing that I would just make people aware of that's been coming up, and it's not specifically related to COVID, but that's the Measure E tax change that went into effect July 1st for the city of San Jose. So there is additional tax now for properties over $2 million, so be aware of that. But specific to COVID also is the court systems are being impacted. They're not fully staffed. They're not all there. So if you have a transaction that requires a court order of some sort, just try to get in front of that as early as possible because you may experience some delays in the closing process. So I know I kind of rattled off a lot of different things, but I just wanted to give realtors a heads up as much as possible as to things to expect that are a result of COVID that may delay your closing.
No, that makes a lot of sense and a good list, Sal. Do you think we're going to see anytime in the near future online closings or recordings?
So to Kevin's point, in large part, a lot of the closing process has been automated. So a lot of it is online. You can do a closing now pretty much start to finish with the technologies that we have. All counties now, including Alameda County, who recently joined the party, are now doing e-recordings. There was a little bit of snafu with Santa Clara yesterday, but that's since been resolved and they're playing catch up. The big piece that, and by the way, First American, we have our secure portal that allows buyers, sellers, borrowers to communicate directly with the escrow officer through a secure portal. So automating that process as well of uploading documents securely and safely. By the way, we are going to be releasing a portion that allows realtors now to have access to that secure portal. So right now it's just lenders, buyer, seller, borrower, but realtor will be coming soon. The big piece obviously is the notary because that process has not yet been automated in California. We're still waiting for legislation to catch up to that in the state. And as soon as legislators get comfortable with the rules and regulations around remote online notarization, I think that's something that we'll see here. I think definitely lenders are comfortable with the changes necessary. Title companies are comfortable just waiting for California state legislators to wrap their arms around that.
Beautiful. Kevin, what do you think? Any more automation or what's going to happen after this?
A few weeks ago, we actually had a couple of runs go through, and since then that got shut down. But I look at it as a legislation thing. I think if you look at 2021 and the banks being okay with it, I think it's a big hurdle there, is the legislature getting it through and Ron being a part of it. So we can go from start to finish online. And I think that the technologies that Sal talked about with First American, our parent company has started this many, many months ago with Start Safe. And it's a portal that is secure for the consumer and obviously lets us know how they like to be contacted. And going forward into that, you know, the deposit money. I think coming early August, we'll be able to take earnest deposit money via a mobile app. And that is a secure environment. I really believe with technology, security's got to be the key. You've got scams, you got people trying to get to that wire money. And what I think these major companies are doing is trying to protect the consumer. There's millions of dollars being stolen on fraudulent ways of wire fraud. And for all of the major players on this call, I know, you know, First American, Old Republic of Chicago, Fidelity, lawyers, all of those companies have taken this to the next level in terms of security. So I really feel if you're looking at Ron and you're looking at security and how that technology sector piece is coming together, I think that's where we're headed. And you know, to get on with the security piece is really where everybody needs to be.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. Hey, Ramsey, who's your friend there?
I got Cherie Sines. She's an escrow officer in Campbell. She joined the party for any of the escrow related questions that we have coming on.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Welcome, Cherie.
Yeah, I'd actually like to share on some of those things. So I think the biggest thing with automation with a closing transaction is we still don't have lenders on board for that. So the loan documents, if we've got financing involved, those are still, there's maybe a handful, like 2 or 3 lenders who will e-sign maybe about half of their loan package. The rest have to be wet signed. So I think full automation for on the loan side is going to take time. And that's something that we've actively been working on through the California Escrow Association for years with lenders. So that's always kind of been an uphill battle with them. We are doing RONs on a regular basis. We haven't had any issue with that on the seller side. I have not had a lender approve a RON for a borrower. So as long as it's on the seller side, we seem to be okay. You know, we've got a lot of sellers who are out of the country. Or I had one seller who was here in the States, but possibly tested positive for COVID. And so in that circumstance, we felt that the RON would be acceptable. We're also doing a lot more DocuSign for seller papers. There's just not a need to do a full signing for seller, you know, when there might be only 1 or 2 notaries involved with that. So I think the biggest hurdle on the automation is with the lenders.
Yeah. Yeah, which is good. It's about time. And we'll get to the lenders in just a minute. No disrespect, but you know, let's see. We'll find out in a minute how they're doing in automation and making things just a little easier for us and a little quicker. But Ramsey, any thoughts about scams right now? What can a realtor do to avoid their client being scammed?
When in question and when in doubt, call your escrow officer. Obviously, we get emails and calls daily. I think everybody on this call probably does, that are concerning. Just checks and balances, making sure that the person sending the email is the person, the right person indeed. And as far as the EMD thing, the electronic deposits, that's certainly a concern because I think consumers aren't quite ready to embrace the idea of taking a picture of their check and electronically sending it over to the title company. And trust me, we're all looking into it. We're all working on that product. But consumers themselves are scared about doing that, right? How many times you hear about, you know, wire fraud? We're taking precautions. This is just another reason just to be extra cautious.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think too, you know, we still get a lot of requests from the realtors or the loan agents asking us to send our wiring instructions to them for them to forward to their client. And really we need to send it directly to that person. So, you know, you get in a contract and I get a lot of people, can you go ahead and send me your wiring instructions? Well, can we have the client's, you know, direct email address? Because we need to send it securely directly to them. Because even if we sent it securely to the loan agent or the realtor, and then if they forward it, it's now unsecure. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking. That kind of defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kevin, what can you tell us as far as changes during the coronavirus that realtors need to be aware of in terms of title and escrow?
Title and escrow or the scams. I think the scams are becoming much more prevalent as well. I think they're the word of, you know, rushing me this necessary information, and the escrow, the consumer gets the email saying, you know, you have to rush it, send me your money now. Don't bring a cashier's check to us because you want anybody touching, you know, what could be transpired on that check. I think what we really need to do is have a email and a phone number, and do not put wire on any kind of email from the realtor. I think the realtor has to stay away from any words in their email. I think you look at what's going on, and I'm sure Doug Goss will back me on this as well, that most realtors' emails are being monitored right now for those keywords. So I think as a realtor, don't even bring that into the equation. You're talking to your client, don't email your client to say, hey, I need you to talk to my escrow officer, either by phone or have that consumer get the email for the escrow officer. I think to protect the realtor from any kind of damage down the road, you can't have that word, you can't have any of that information that the realtor has in its email. Remove yourself from the equation. Talk directly to the escrow officer.
How we communicate with our clients, you're basically saying we have to go back to phone calls or something, and then we have no record of things they said or approved.
Avoid keywords. I think that's the message I want to say. Avoid keywords. Everybody's email keystrokes are being looked at, especially on the realtor side. I think for us, you know, all of our stuff that we send to the consumer has a secured portal. We've really tried to protect that asset for the agent and for the consumer, and having that information only go between the consumer and the escrow is really the key to the whole thing, right? You know, words like funding, proceeds, EMD, funds to close, all of that stuff is being monitored, and I'm sure Doug can probably talk about this at a car level, and we just got to protect the agent from even talking about it and having those key words come up.
Yeah, but the problem is those are the words we use when communicating with our clients. So let me just get a 30-second idea from each of you. What's one thing you would recommend to agents today to make their lives as well as your life in terms of title and escrow easier? Sal, what would you say?
Well, I've got a couple of thoughts around that, Dr. Lee. So just touching based on what kind of Kevin said in regards to that safety and security, definitely be safe about your email, your password, making sure that, you know, it's secure as much as possible. Hence why the secure portal solution is the best, because you're logging in with a username, password, dual user authentication, all these types of things to make sure that communication there is secure, more secure than kind of a generic email type piece. So that is huge. In regards to wire fraud, the best line of defense that we've uncovered is making sure that the communication between the realtors and the consumer is frequent. So at the beginning, in the middle, and especially at the end of the transaction, because the ones that we're stopping, because there's a lot of this activity, is when the consumer calls us and says, my realtor told me and warned me about this, and I think this is happening. Let's talk about it. And we talk it through, and it stopped at that point because of some communication that they've received from the lender, or excuse me, from the realtor. That's key. The last thing I'll say in regards to earnest money deposit, we do have the capability currently at First American for consumers to snap a check, picture of the check and electronically download the EMD. I will, however, say that most consumers, it's not widely used. Most consumers still want to come in and drop off a cashier's check, which is fine. We'll do it either way, but it's just something nice to have in the event that it is truly inconvenient outside of the country, whatever the case is, and they need to get the money in safely and securely. So take advantage of those platforms. Again, we have them for our lenders, buyers, sellers, borrowers. It's coming for realtors. Use those as much as possible so that you're not, like Kevin said, remove yourself from the equation. Don't be part of that challenge. Use the technology and platforms that are available to you.
That's one of the times when we as realtors should give up a little control because it
just a little.
Us out of the liability link too. Yeah. Kevin, a couple of people though are asking you, maybe you can do that after you get off, give us a synopsis of some of those words, put those in chat. But in the meantime, what would you recommend to realtors as just a closing thought?
I think, you know, on the phone, you can talk as a realtor about those things and brush them up on what's out there and why the wire fraud is coming. But to do that in an email is really poor choice. You talk about it on the phone, tell them what's going on, what might potentially happen, and then give them, you know, an idea that that information of the wire and those instructions should never be on an email to a realtor. That should only be between the escrow and the consumer.
Great point.
And if the borrower, and again, if the borrower saw any kind of email saying, hey, send me this, they're trained that that's a bad thing. Something's happening here, and it gives a red flag, and then they should be talking to the escrow company and the realtor that this possibly might be happening.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then if you could just put those, a couple of maybe the top 6 words we should avoid into the chat, people would really appreciate it.
I'll do that.
Ramsey and Cherie, give us some thoughts.
What I would add to that is look at the email addresses of the emails that you receive, right? We're always so quick to respond to every email we get. We actually don't hover our cursor over or click on the email address, being sure that the email address is actually from our escrow officer, from your realtor, from your lender. And also looking, you talk about keywords, but even in oftentimes the emails, the scam emails that we see, there are words that are not commonly used among your clients. So just looking at the words that are used, kindly, I'm trying to think what other words are used. You know, it's from foreign countries, oftentimes they use different language, different spellings of the words, favor, let's say O-U-R. So just paying attention to how the emails are written and just taking time, stop. And if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck, it probably is a duck. Call your escrow officer, call your account executive, by the way, to ask those questions. If you can't get hold of your escrow officer, we're happy to help.
I think communication is really important too, and that, you know, especially we're talking about everything getting so automated and we're so used to everything's on email or text or, you know, and one of the thing is there's several points of contact that we have with a consumer throughout that closing, and getting to know their voice, the sound of their voice, and yeah, their language that they use. And you know, that's why it's important we have those in-person notaries. We've verified their identity. So even kind of having to go a little bit old school on that, it really safeguards rather than just quick, you know, email exchange back and forth, texting information. You need to know the consumer. We need, as the escrow officer, need to know the consumer to feel comfortable with that.
Wonderful. And I think that the main thing I got out of this is just be really careful about what you put in your email communications, because if you keep in mind that people are monitoring it all the time, I think we would be very different in our communications. So I want to thank you all very much for being here. Ramsey Amira, Old Republic Title, Cherie Sains, and Cherie Sains from Old Republic as well. Thank you guys. Kevin Barrett, Chicago Title, and Sal Covarrubias from First American. Thank you again so much.
Thank you guys.
Full applauses. Great job. So let me just remind you that our program is sponsored by Bank of the West, Golden One Credit Union, First American Home Warranty, and TAPS Termite, as well as HomeGuard Incorporated. So next up, what I'd like to do is bring on our lender panel. These folks are going to talk about, by the way, did you know a lot of lending has changed dramatically? They're going to talk about lending and getting a loan in the new world of home financing during and after COVID-19. We have Brian Wendt, Golden One Credit Union. He's a home loan advisor there. John Neckar, Bank of the West Area Sales Manager. And they're going to talk about basically loans. So let's talk first of all to Brian. What has been the biggest change you've seen since COVID-19 started?
Since it started, I would think the biggest change that I've seen is the underwriting guidelines have become more strict, primarily in the area of down payments. The lower down payment loans have been severely limited, and I say lower down payments is anything under 20%. So those are becoming more challenging. There's always going to be FHA and VA, but those loans are not available to everybody, nor do all borrowers want those loans. So that's where I've seen the most strictness has been in the down payment.
Beautiful. John Neckar, what are you seeing as far as big changes? John, are you there?
You gotta unmute yourself, John.
John, unmute yourself. John.
Still muted.
There
you go.
Okay, can you all hear me now?
Yes,
yes.
We got you.
Fantastic. Hey, we have seen some small changes to down payments. We lead with an 80-10-10 program, and we changed the FICO score from 720 up to 760. But I would say the biggest piece is that the lenders are just extremely busy. So we had to send all of our processors and funders and underwriters to remote, which actually was a good piece because we became a bit more productive with that. But all the lenders between the refis and the strong purchase business are very, very busy, and trying to balance that out has been difficult and kind of stretched our times just a little bit. But for us on an underwriting from an underwriting guideline standpoint, we haven't changed that much, which has really been good for us. And a lot of that has to do with performance. But we've seen other lenders cut into LTV pretty severely. And that's much more in the jumbo space, not so much in Fannie Mae. And the other piece would be appraisals, in that a lot of customers just do not want an appraiser going through their property. So Fannie Mae kind of has a waterfall approach with that. We try to get a full appraisal, and if we can't, then we go downstream on that. And we'll do some drive-bys, and we'll do some desk reviews on a case-by-case basis. So when we look at our portfolio of loans, jumbo loans that we're currently holding, we do allow in certain cases an appraisal where you do an online, where the customer goes through with their phone and is on the phone with the appraiser and goes through each room of the house, and they can do a shortened version of an appraisal that way. And though we're only offering it on our portfolio right now, I could see 3 years down the road that becoming maybe the norm in appraisals. It's kind of a fallout of COVID. So a lot of things kind of coming at once, but I'd say the biggest piece is just how full all of our pipelines are.
Wonderful. Brian, what about length of closing now? We were talking about that earlier. Same, shorter, or longer now than before COVID-19?
Well, John kind of hit on it with all the refis. So generally what we do at the credit union, we do not want our service times to suffer during the COVID. So we have to manage our pipeline. So what we've done is actually kind of raised our rates on the refis to kind of slow down the refis so our turn times on purchases don't suffer, nor do we raise our rates on purchases. So we can still close purchases based on the contract. So if you need less than 30 days, or 21 days, 17, 18-day close on a purchase, we can still do that. You know, refis are taking longer just because there's so many loans in the pipeline. But purchase turn times are not too bad. One area that has been a challenge of pretty much all lenders has to do with appraisals. And a lot of these purchase contracts are coming in with 7, 8, 10-day appraisal contingencies. And that is one area that no lender has any control over, because that's controlled by an AMC. And with all the refis, it's very challenging to get a fast appraisal on a purchase, even if you put in a rush, because everyone's putting in rushes, and then you don't have a rush because everything's a rush. So appraisals are somewhat of a challenge right now on purchases, but the turn times for approvals are still, you know, on track, 20 to 30 days to close.
Okay. What about jumbo loans? John, I heard those are going away. What do you think?
I don't think they're going away. I think there can be some restrictions. And one of the realtors earlier on commented on people being concerned about us going back in the recession like 2008. And the dynamics are so much different than 2008. So from our perspective, our portfolio is performing. We have some enhancements we can add that we're kind of holding on it, but unless they're working on some big change that I'm not aware of, we're still holding true to it. But we have seen some elimination from Wells or B of A and some others going down just a stitch in loan to value. But right now, we're holding solid. So we're still doing our 80-10-10s to 2.5 million, and we're still allowing DTIs up to 60 on our portfolio non-QM stuff.
Very good. Ryan, are you?
So let's just keep our fingers crossed. We'll keep performance up. But right now we're holding solid.
You got it. Thank you so much. Brian, how about Golden One? Are they still offering jumbos?
Yeah, our real niche is our portfolio product, like how Bank of the West has one. It's basically loans over 510, so 510 to 4 million are portfolio loans, which include jumbo loan amounts. One of the big changes that I've seen on jumbos since COVID is jumbo money is really only available basically from direct lenders like banks or credit unions. Mortgage bankers really don't have much of a source for jumbo loans. So they're good for up to high balance 765, but once you get above 765, they're really the only choices for good jumbo loans would be banks or credit unions. But the guidelines,
I have something.
Go ahead, John.
I have something else to add to that as far as jumbo loans, because they're seeing a big shift. Banks need deposits to be able to keep doing these jumbo loans, and we're held accountable to a ratio for that. So you're seeing a lot of jumbo lenders now giving reduced pricing for bringing monies over. So we have discount points at 250, 500, and $1 million post-close with significant reductions to our rates because we need the assets. So when you talk about jumbo lending going away, if you've got people that are going to a bank and they've got excess money and transfer it there, that's really going to keep the wheel spinning there, because we're doing an excellent job in driving assets and extra, but you haven't seen that part of the game being played. I've really seen it ratchet up in the last 6 to 9 months, especially since we hit COVID.
So what other differences are you seeing out there, Brian?
Differences from pre-COVID and post-COVID, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
There is an overall tightening with the guidelines, and more in they're underwriting them stiffer, I guess you can say, when it comes to income to debt ratio. It's much harder to get exceptions on loans. When it was pretty easy as a portfolio lender to get an exception, they're being more strict. It's not impossible, it's more strict. Credit scores have gotten higher requirements, debt ratios, they're holding firmer to debt ratios, same with reserves. So the guidelines are being held to more strictly than they were in the past when it was easier to get exceptions. That's what I've noticed.
Wonderful, thank you. John, record low interest rates. Do you think they're helping or hurting realtors?
I just, in the jumbo space, they're certainly helping, and I think they're keeping the demand and the interest in front of the public in a big way. But most lenders, including ourselves, because of capacity, in listening to Brian and changing the guidelines, so we haven't had to change the guideline much, but we do have capacity concerns, and we're priced a little bit higher right now due to capacity. So we need to push a bunch of loans out to be able to get down to the bottom where we're at. And I think that you see a lot of both mortgage banks and credit unions and banks probably pricing up a little bit, which is odd because we haven't done it for, forever. But we're trying to kind of manage it a little bit with price, but we could be a lot lower. So since this thing is rates are supposed to be low for a couple of years, we should hit a period where all of the jumbo lenders have pushed everything through, and you're going to see a really big drop. But you don't see lenders as low as they could be.
Thank you, John.
So we're trying to get
Brian,
there.
What I'm seeing is a lot of people are refinancing instead of moving. Any suggestions for us? What do you think, Brian?
Well, I'm not a realtor, so I wouldn't, I wouldn't know what to say, but if they can refinance and get the rates they are, actually, if they sold, and right now is a good time to sell and repurchase, because purchase loan rates are lower. So, I mean, I can still think it would be an advantage to them to sell the house and then buy another one, because they can actually get a lower interest rate than a refi.
Good advice.
Or how about this? How about this, Michael? How about they refinance, take money out of their primary home and buy a rental?
There
we
you
do
go.
a ton of non-owner loans and see that a lot. So we'll do like 2 loans, a cash out and a purchase of a non-owner at the same time and push them through together. Yeah.
Or a vacation home.
Yeah.
Even lots of those too.
Well, speaking of realtors, let me bring in Marilyn Chapman from First American Home Warranty and Annette Kalik from First American Home Warranty. Folks, what's going on with home warranties during COVID-19?
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
We're actually speaking also in place of Iris Luttrell. So for everybody who's listening to this, most of you probably know Iris Luttrell here with First American Home Warranty, and Andrea Bologna has part of our territory, and Jackie Ryan is our JCP rep in your area. But Annette and I work closely with Michael, and we love the opportunity to be able to peek in, and Iris is off this week. So, but to answer your question, and I know Annette and I will both take a little moment to answer the question. What I can tell you is we're still in the situation of the shutdown of the office. All of our employees are working from home. We were very impressed back early in March how fast and quickly our IT departments set up all of our employees, and we have, I think, 5 call centers, and they set them all up to work from home, and that was almost flawless. The only thing I can prepare you for is that there might be a little bit more hold times. When you call in, you might get somebody different than you normally would because our phone systems aren't working all at an office, so to speak, right? But we're finding a way to make it work, and our technicians are respecting the whole situation with COVID. They are required to wear masks and gloves and shoe coverings if they have them. And of course, if they're not feeling well, they are not to go on a job. And we're asking the homeowners to also be kind enough to let us know if they're not feeling well, to not have our technician go in for the job. Annette, did you want to add to that?
Hi, everybody. Annette Kalik. And I realized I clicked on Marilyn's link, so it says Marilyn twice on our names. Thank you for the opportunity. And again, Jackie is listening in. Jackie, if you want to say hi real fast. Can you hear us? Oh, maybe not. Okay. So anyways, just wanted to say that in the beginning, we had about 135 companies that we were working with that were on hold because either somebody they knew was, what am I trying to say, had symptoms of COVID or whatever the case was, they weren't allowed to go anywhere. So there was like 130 something. And then now there's only 20 on hold. So, you know, we're doing really well. Sometimes there's parts that need to be ordered, especially air conditioning parts. There was a huge supplier that had a COVID case, so they had to shut down for 14 days or whatever. And so that did delay some parts or new air conditioners that were being delivered. But that's what's unique was we are here for you guys. Our reps in your area are amazing. So you don't have to just know that you don't have just the 800 number. You have us as well. So we couldn't hear you, Jackie. Sorry, she's texting. So we are here for you. You're not just stuck to the 800 number. And if there's times where you have a certain client who's really struggling and, you know, just their service fee, you know, is a true hardship, that's what our relationships are all about. Please let us know, and we will work with you to waive that service fee. Okay, Marilyn.
Oh, okay. Jackie, should we give Jackie one more chance to try and get on? Jackie is our co-worker with JCP in your area, so we invited her at least just to say hi to everybody. You probably all know her, Jackie Ryan.
Huh. Maybe they don't allow, if you're not a speaker, that they can't
Okay.
speak. Maybe that's what it is.
Okay.
Sorry,
Well, hi,
Jackie.
Jackie.
She wanted to say hi to everybody. So we'll say hi on her behalf.
And thank you so much for all you do. You know, I rely on you guys absolutely, and so do my clients. So thank you so much, especially during this very challenging time for realtors.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate you.
Thank you. And if you got comments, feel free to pop in as always.
Thank you.
John Neckar, we had a question from an audience member about, say more about getting a second loan and buying either a second home or an investment property.
Okay, let's see. I answered her and said a couple things. If you do the two loans together, it's going to be treated more like a purchase and it'll go through. So you have options of doing it concurrently or non-concurrently. So in the perfect world, you do your cash out first, you get the money, and then you shop and do it. But if you find the house and you want to do it together, we will prioritize the refi because it's tied to a purchase to do it. So you can take your down payment money from your cash out and we can close those concurrent or non-concurrent. But we do see a lot of that when people think they have good options, both buying rental properties like Texas or Idaho or other areas, not just in California, buying them all over.
Brian, thoughts about refinance and then buying an investment property or a second home?
It's pretty much the same as John. What you refinance, pull out the cash, and then buy the second. I don't know what more there is to add to that. There are people doing that. One of the limiting factors on that is the cash out limitations. You used to be able to easily go to 80% cash out, and when you start getting into portfolio or jumbo loans, the cash out is limited to 75% of the appraisal. So you may not be able to get as much cash out as before, but it's possible to do a 75% LTV cash out and then put on a 10% or a 5% home equity loan to take it up to the 80%. But that is a tool that you can use to buy a second home or a non-owner.
Beautiful. How about creative financing? Is there any of that left?
Well, I guess what you mean by that would be like stated income or stated assets. Is that what you mean by that, or?
Well, I understand those stated income loans are pretty much gone after 2008.
Yeah, I guess you have to define creative financing, but generally those loans are limited to non-owner occupied. When it comes to a owner occupied primary residence, the federal regulations basically require lenders to determine a borrower's ability to repay the loan. And that would be, documenting their income the best they possibly can. There are some bank statement loans out there, but for the most part, it's taxes or, W-2s and check stubs and, banks that fully verified income and assets. So creative financing on owner occupied home loans are pretty rare, if at all, just because of the regulations. They don't want people to lose their homes, their primary residences. What you do with your rental properties is still pretty much the Wild West, but on primary residences, it is pretty strict.
Beautiful.
Well, it should be.
Just want to remind our audience, for best viewing, make sure you're on speaker view at the upper right-hand corner. That way you'll see the main person who's talking at any point in time. And don't forget, if you have questions for any of our panelists, go ahead and put it into the chat box. So Brian, how about 1031 exchanges? Still doing those? And does it take much longer?
Well, I'm doing one now that there's more moving pieces in a 1031 exchange with the accommodator and coordinating the sale of the house with with the two transactions. I don't see those really taking longer or less time. They're still the turnaround time in a 1031 exchange has still stayed pretty consistent through the pandemic. At least that's what my experience has been.
Okay, but basically we should allow maybe a little more time before we try and have a closing period than maybe pre-coronavirus.
Well, the closing period on a 1031 exchange is generally not the challenge. It's you got that 45 days to identify a property, and that, you know, from the time you sell, you get that money into the 1031 exchange. You've got 45 days to identify up to 5 properties. That seems to be, you know, the biggest challenge for people in a 1031 exchange. Not on the loan side, because you have 180 days to close. So you've got plenty of time to close. It's just identifying the property.
Right. That's always been a challenge. And I want to remind our audience, we have 3 fabulous realtors coming up to talk about what is the future of real estate after the coronavirus and how will you survive and thrive. John Neckar, what do you think about, are we ever going to see a much more automated process? If so, when? And can we speed this process up? I think that's one of the biggest challenges and complaints that I get from my clients is it takes so dang long to get a loan. What do you think, John?
Oh, we have a long way to go, but I think the coronavirus is going to push us in that direction. Especially, we already talked about escrow and signings along those lines. So our risk is a long way from accepting that, but we are moving in that direction. So I think Fannie Mae has the lead, but right now with the government and how we're being audited and checked on everything, we are still pretty document intensive. And as we look at our slowdowns in our pipeline, the one thing we can do to speed it up is to reduce documentation, but we have to do it in a way that still kind of meets our risk requirements and the like. So we're really struggling with that. And I think it'll be something good that comes out of coronavirus, but I haven't been able to like capture what that is that's going to be able to drive us forward with that. But I think that everyone has to spin the wheel faster. Everyone has to do more with less people. And we're trying to automate as much as we possibly can. You know, I talked about the appraisal walkthrough and that kind of stuff, but I don't have any big comment to make about something we're doing that's going to change the landscape or anything we're doing. I would like to touch on the creative financing for just a second, in that we don't have any limited doc options, but if you fully document yourself, we can go to 60 debt to income. We're super aggressive with asset dissipation, so we can take their extra money and put that into a cash flow. We're good with distributions, and we have a lot of bullets in our holsters or tools to be able to get creative, but it's all done under the guise, like Brian said, of needing all the documentation. But man, I would love to see us 6 to 9 months down, and all of my communication back to my risk and my ops team is that, hey, look where we're at now. We need to find ways to get the same level of confidence in our files with less documentations, but not an easy answer to that.
Well, okay. Brian, do you have an easy answer to that? Are we going to?
Here's what's really going on with the mortgage process. The beginning of the process is really quick. There's a lot of online, you know, underwrite automated documentation, disclosures, and ordering. The very beginning of the process is quite quick and technical, and it's very automated. And the end of it is really automated, from the doc department through to funding. So the beginning and the end is really fast. It's that middle section that's the challenge to automate, because there's so much human contact with the file during there with underwriters and processors. And there, you know, so automating that part more is, I think, the biggest challenge with all lenders, because there's still a huge human contact with the file during that middle part, during the processing and underwriting. And a human can only underwrite so many files in a day or process so many files. And with the amount of flow that's going in for purchases and refis, that seems to be where it slows down with all lenders, is that middle section for processing and approval.
So you don't see that speeding up in the near future?
Well, it's, you know, that's hard to do. You know, I don't know if they've developed an algorithm that can completely underwrite the file. There's ways to speed up some of the documentation and, you know, pull from ADP or from the IRS that kind of speed it up, but there's still the analysis of an underwriter has got to take place.
Yeah. Okay. So as we close, Brian, give us one thought that would help realtors to be more successful when it comes to lending, and then give us your phone number too.
most of the realtors now that participate in this and are involved in breakfast meetings, I mean, they're quite skilled and knowledgeable for my, everybody that I interact with. But I guess to give them, I would say that, the market is still changing. Underwriting is still changing and flows. So guidelines are loosening up, or we are starting to get, back to normal again. But I would say really encourage your buyers to get pre-approved. That's just, and not just a pre-approval letter. I mean, something that's actually gone into underwriting. And we have 24-hour underwriting on purchases, even without having a property. Your buyer can get fully underwritten in 24 hours, and you can write an offer with no loan contingency. So that would be my contribution, is make sure that your buyers get fully underwritten.
Beautiful. And if people want to get a hold of you, Brian, how do they do that?
That would be, let me see if you can tell me if you can see this right there. There's my phone number on there.
Okay, just read out your phone number.
408-221-4412.
One more time.
408-221-4412.
Beautiful. Thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you.
John, any last thoughts for our audience, and then your contact?
Let's see. I would say that it's important to know your lenders because we all have different niches. So if you have a loan declined for debt to income from any B of A, Wells, US Bank, Citi, we would love a chance to look at it because we can likely close the loan, which doesn't help you with your time on your contract. But knowing who's the lowest rate, knowing who's the fastest, knowing who's the most flexible, and helping customers along with that is important. And I would just mirror Brian's comment on getting pre-approved. We allow underwrite with no property address, not quite as fast as Brian, but that's part of the process to get that done. But the lenders are busy, but at the same time, knowing who can do what is really, really helpful. And then let's see, I can be reached at 415-404-2098. And then if you really don't know anyone from Bank of the West, you can walk into any bank branch, and any banker or branch manager will be able to direct you. They don't really want us in the branches now for obvious reasons, but our branches are also driving mortgage loans from our customers. So if you forget my number, call a branch or just walk into one and they'll be able to help you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Brian Wendt, Golden One Credit Union Home Loan Advisor, and John Neckar, Bank of the West Area Sales Manager. Thank you so much. Great job. All righty.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
It is our pleasure. So just a quick reminder, our sponsors are Bank of the West, Golden One Credit Union, First American Home Warranty, TAPS Termite, and HomeGuard Incorporated. And one of those obviously is TAPS Termite. And I just want to remind you that TAPS Termite has been working with Bay Area real estate and property management communities for over 50 years, offering detailed inspection reports with photos, traditional and green treatments, fumigation, and structural repair. You can send over your existing quote for a free, no obligation second estimate. And with an expanded team and service area, TAPS offers same day or next day appointments. You can visit tapstermite.com for more information, or of course you can give them a call at 408-259-5900. Well, I want to welcome our real estate panel, and we've got back with us Zaid Hanna with Real Estate 38, Angie Cook with Century 21 M&M, and Doug Goss with Keller Williams Bay Area Estates. Welcome, folks, so much for being here. Angie, I want to ask you a question. First of all, what are you doing currently that's different to survive in this age of the coronavirus, sheltering in place, and those kinds of things?
Well, first of all, Michael, I wanted to say you made me feel good in the beginning. When you said how long you've been in the business, I thought I was the oldie but goodie. So I felt really good about that.
How
But
many years, Angie?
I'm sorry?
How many years?
35. This is going to be
Oh.
my 36. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Forever young.
Yes.
But Michael, just real quick before we start, does Rob get to talk first with TAPS Termite?
Would you like him to?
Yeah, right, Rob?
Yeah, Rob.
Absolutely.
Come on in and tell
All right.
us
Hi, Angie.
how have things changed for you at TAPS Termite during the coronavirus?
You know, one of the first things is obviously safety. We're very conscientious about our safety, cleaning all of our trucks, all of our equipment, going on inspections. We use gloves, masks, of course, booties. We are very much adhering to the social distancing protocols. One of the things that's really changed is the social distancing. We've had, when it first started, we had a lot of people not showing up at all, a lot of lock boxes, which is the preferred method. So we go and we can do our inspections. We take a lot of pictures. We have picture albums for all the clients and for all the agents, videos of leaks, those types of things. So we're very detailed. And then also, we're very happy to do video chats. So we've been doing a lot of FaceTime and video calls, walking the buyers through, walking the clients through, walking around the house, doing actual video as well to give the synopsis of what's going on with the conditions of their house. With that said too, one of the things that we've done, if in the hard times of what's happening with the pandemic and all the layoffs and everything, we offer a payment plan now as well. So if people want to get their treatments done or buyers want to move and get their stuff done, we offer payment plans, very convenient. And we're very flexible and easy about how we want to work with them. So the main thing is keeping everybody safe out there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you have a payment plan, because what I like to do is I like to make sure that all my inspections are done up front. And if I can, we'd love to get a clear pest control report because then the buyer doesn't have to worry about it. But many times, if it's a lot of money, it can be a challenge. So thank you for doing that. And I like to be there during the inspection so I get a better sense of what's on that report. What's your recommendation on that, Rob?
Yeah, we absolutely love for you to be there. We just want to make sure that you're bringing masks. We're using our safety protocols. We don't stand too close to each other. Obviously, we don't shake hands anymore with any clients, type of deal, elbows only. But yes, if you want to show up, definitely. We do like to ask that you only bring, the realtor and the actual clients, limited to like 2 clients. If there's a lot of other family members or something, they can stand off to the side kind of thing. So we're not breaking the social protocol.
Beautiful. Yeah, well, that's what we've been doing. A couple of our audience members want to know your direct contact information.
My direct info. I'll put it in the chat as well.
They didn't ask if you were single, so I'm not sure.
Nope, off the market. But my direct line, you can call me anytime for any questions. I'm at 408-502-1136, or you can email me at rob@tapstermite.com.
So why don't you go ahead and put that in the chat for us, Rob?
Will do. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
And anytime you've got something to say during this segment, feel free to jump in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. So Angie, what are you doing differently right now?
I wanted Doug to go first.
What did you think?
First. What am I doing differently? I guess I have to just say, just taking all the precautions, but like you mentioned earlier, Michael, about, the CBS codes. And I think, Doug, we discussed it maybe last week's meeting or week before last. I mean, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, but the board was fabulous with me. And I did go ahead and switch over to having, I guess you could only do the CBS code on your cell. And because I was having a lot of agents that were going to the property without sending over a PED, and that was really, really challenging. So I did go ahead and do just like you, Michael, and change to the CBS code. So we are being very cautious, and I do provide, of course, at the properties, the masks, the gloves, the hand sanitizers, the wipes, And the other thing that we're doing, I know that you can't have, or correct me if I'm wrong, but Doug, I think I'm right, that we can't have brochures or anything like that at the property. Any paper, like paper. So what we're doing is we are putting the features of the home in a glass frame, and we have it throughout the house. But we also have a feature card that says to the agents and the buyers, for your convenience, we have provided the following. But when you leave the property, please take the mask, the gloves, and everything else with you. And to please wipe down anything that they did touch. I mean, I don't know if that's answering, the question, but we're trying to.
No, absolutely.
We're trying to be ahead of everything else. And because I've been very blessed. And like Karen had said earlier about having the assistance, I know Doug does also, that handles to make sure all these PED forms get in. But we're just trying to stay ahead of the rest, and we're blessed with a lot of business. And I just have a feeling it's going to continue. And I know that Doug will follow on with me on this, that our listings have been having multiple offers, multiple. And I'll say just one last thing. One last thing. I have to say a pitch. I am looking for a property. Doug, do you have one in Almaden? We're closing today on our listing in Blossom Valley, and we want to go into Almaden, and we are having the hardest time finding a property in Almaden.
Angie,
okay,
give us your phone number, because we've got a couple of people that says we do. So give us your phone number.
Wonderful. On the chat?
Yeah, go ahead and put it in the chat. Thank you.
Okay.
Doug, how's it been for you? And what are you doing I know you're killing it. What are you doing to stay successful in this very challenging time?
Well, Michael, thank you to you and SCORE for having us on, and thanks to all the sponsors, Rob and everyone else. Appreciate it. For us, I would say probably the biggest change for us is, just moving to a virtual environment. For our listing presentations, our buyer consultations, reviewing offers with our clients, just working more in a virtual environment. Like everybody else, when showing our properties, we've kind of taken a more conservative approach on showing our properties, where we're actually doing it by appointment, and we are actually meeting the buyer and their agent out there. We're not giving out codes. We're actually meeting the buyer and their agents out there at the property. We get there ahead of time. Even if it's vacant, we open it up. We make sure they're following protocols by using not only masks, but we do require gloves and shoe covers as well. That way, we're sure that that we're being compliant, that the property is not being contaminated in any way, that if they do touch anything, they have gloves on, and then we're going in and wiping everything down and securing the property afterwards. So those are probably the two biggest changes that we've seen, given this pandemic.
And Zaid, how are you handling this market?
It's actually making things a lot easier with virtual meetings. We used to wait for the client, have them sit in traffic, come to our office, present to them. Now, and everything was at 5, 6, and sometimes 7 o'clock. Now I find myself, I'm done with work at 5 or 6 because they're actually having meetings at 12 and 1 o'clock. So things are actually becoming a lot more efficient, where we used to have a lot of delays. It's no longer there. We use Google Hangouts versus Zoom. We also have Zoom. But Google Hangouts is a little bit more secure than Zoom in the chat room or the virtual room. So we've adapted that quite a bit. Our online marketing has gone up versus what it was before with the open houses. That's no longer there. So you are finding a lot more buyers looking online and finding you. So we've adapted. I have a marketing manager here, staff, full-time, that she is constantly putting out material, whether it be videos that I record weekly to the property walkthroughs and so on. So we're marketing a lot more online strategically, and we're a lot more efficient with appointments. So we're having a lot more this time around.
Beautiful. I just, I think since we have the opportunity, if any of you agents has a need or want, go ahead and put it into chat. Why not? because you got over 50 people on this call who might be able to help you out. And, you know, it's a challenging market out there. Zaid, we're seeing up here in, you know, the Tri-Valley and East Bay, multiple offers. Are you seeing the same thing? And if so, how are you dealing with it?
So again, having staff, my listing manager, she fields all the appointments to the offers that are coming in. Definitely multiple offers on almost every property. There's nothing to buy, nothing exists. To Angie's comment, please, I need a property in Almaden. You know, 3 months ago, no one was moving. Today, everybody is moving. So yes, if the property is staged, shows well, priced correctly, it's going to move. If it's overpriced, you'll be surprised. Sometimes it's actually moving right now as well. So yeah, things are moving very quickly. In fact, I think, I know some of you may not like Zillow. I'm not a big fan either, but they just put out a statement saying this is the fastest market we're seeing properties selling. So the least days on market we've ever seen. So
Yeah.
yes, multiple offers for sure.
So Angie, are there any classes that we should be taking right now to stay up with all of the changes during the coronavirus? What are you doing for education?
I say a lot of prayers. That's where my education is. But you know what? I wanted to step back real quick. But we were talking about, just real quick, because I was afraid I was going to forget that thought. When we were talking about earlier, when you were talking to Zaid and to Helen and to Karen about what would you suggest to a new agent, you know, coming in this market, I really wanted to suggest something that, you know, check with the other agents in your office, see if they do have a new listing, and if you're able to do a Facebook Live open house. So I just thought that would be a great idea for the new agents. Don't be afraid, you know, ask the agents. I would be more than happy to have somebody come and do the Facebook Live, you know, even though I have to do the first one, but still that we continue, you know, the marketing until the property gets sold, even though, like Zaid said, we do have multiple offers on the properties. But now can we go back to your question?
Well, it's just about education. You know, what are you doing to stay ahead of this?
Well, I do, the only way I'm really doing it, to be honest, okay, is that I do enjoy attending the different marketing meetings on what's going on in the different areas, like Karen's over here in Morgan Hill, South County, of course, our Almaden, of course, Blossom Valley, Evergreen. But I haven't really taken any classes, so to speak, you know, as far as, I don't have time. I'm busy, so
yeah, no kidding.
I listen to you all and what you all have to say, and I think that's my education right there.
Doug, what do you suggest as far as education and or technology we should be getting up to speed on?
I think everybody should take a class on how to properly run and participate in a Zoom meeting.
Good point.
Yeah, it's very frustrating when you're on these Zoom meetings and, you know, the host, you've got a lot of people talking and they're not muting themselves, or you have a lot of background, or people trying to share and they can't. I think everyone should just take a little time, especially if you're going to be running or participating in a Zoom, to understand what you're getting into ahead of time. It makes it better for everybody involved. That being said, you know, like Zaid said, you know, people are at home, people are online. Social media, I think getting more involved in social media is very important for agents' business. But, you know, for us, our business this year, you know, we usually do about 50-60% of our business coming from our, you know, personal referrals, past clients, our sphere of influence. And this year we're almost at 70%. So really, I would look at, how do you tap into your database? You know, what classes can you take to, you know, start tapping into your database, working by referral and getting those leads out of the database that you have. You know, your clients out there need that information about what's going on. A lot of them aren't familiar with it. So any classes you can take on, you know, how to really dig into and tap into your database, I think would be worthwhile. You know, Zaid had some great statistics on inventory in San Jose, you know, and what Zaid said is consistent throughout the county. But the MLS has some great classes on how to run statistics. I think that's important for people to learn how to run statistics and have that data at their fingertips when they're consulting or meeting with their clients. It's a great time now to take contracts classes, learn the contract inside and out. If you have downtime, don't waste it. SCORE has Agent EDU now as a benefit to all of our members. So there's lots of education classes that are available free to agents at SCORE. So if you haven't signed up, contact Jody or go online. There's lots of great classes out there. And for those of you who, you may be up for license renewal or need to do your code of ethics, or look at getting into your broker's license, look at taking that advanced education, to better your understanding of the profession and further your career.
Beautiful. Yeah, we definitely need Zoom classes, how to do a Zoom tour, Facebook Live, that kind of thing. And on the chat, we've got some offers of help if you need any help. So jump on there. Zaid, are you doing any video tours, or is there any other classes or technology we should be getting up to speed on?
So when I speak to you as a team, and there's a lot of handoff. I call it the doctor-nurse. So my team handles, it's that engine underneath the car I'm driving. So how was the handoff? So 4 years ago, we actually went virtual. So this whole thing between the video conferencing and adapting the file transfer was all look at G Suite. So your email at gmail.com, go actually get a paid service. It's a lot more sophisticated. It's encrypted. Look more into that. That'll help you a lot more. Of course, adapt Disclosure.io. That'll save you a lot of time. I think the most important part in this time is the 6 inches between the ears. Mindset is very important. When you talk to a top producer, we're constantly in motion. So to us, whether we go down 10% or go up 10%, we still have a lot of momentum. So when you look at an agent that has a deal every other month or every quarter, they don't know what's happening in the market 3 months ago. It's completely different. So get educated, get involved with your broker. Heck, join a team, right? The teams are getting stronger and bigger, and we all need help, whether it be a partner agent or TC or everything else in between. So I would say work on your mindset, surround yourself amongst people that think like you, growth, for you to get there before you get all this education about how to read a contract. What is the contract worth if you don't have a client, right? So go get more clients, get in front of more people. So I believe NAR and CAR both have technology classes for you to understand what's ahead of us. I think it's very important moving forward that the gap is getting larger between the haves and the have-nots. The people that were slow, they're getting slower, and the people that are busy, they're getting busier, simply because they have all these things in place. So look at what's hot and adapt it very quickly, because things are going to change very quickly.
Beautiful. No, I completely agree. And Jody Souza has put the SCORE information about education into the chat. So, that's a great resource. SCORE does more training than almost any other local board I've ever seen. So congratulations and thank you, Jody. Earlier today, we talked about automation, and especially if you've got a listing, staying up with showing times and everything else. Are any of you using any kind of automation software to schedule showings of your listings?
Well, I enjoyed seeing that Helen's, what she's using, what is it, Calendly? Yeah, I was interested in seeing about that, but we've been, my assistants have been real good about scheduling it, but if the inventory doesn't increase and we have a low inventory, and we're gonna have, like one of the properties I closed maybe 6 weeks ago, we had 16 offers. Yes, we're gonna have to monitor something instead of people just standing up front waiting to go in, because I'm not that person, for you to be doing something like that. We need to have the appointment scheduled. So I'm sure we're going to graduate to something else like Helen has.
Yeah. Doug, are you using any kind of software?
We're not, but we're trying to schedule since we meet the buyer and their agent out at on all of the showings, we are very strict on being punctual. And we let them know, look, we're scheduling appointments, 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30, so that we can have someone there. And we let them know you need to be there at 1:30 because, if you push upon that 2 o'clock, we have another appointment and we're not going to bump them because you're not punctual. And Sandy Jameson, our president of SCORE, we had a conversation with her, and she uses a company called Showing Time, which I know is big, around the country. It's not so much big here, but they've been around for a long time. And, she was going through the process with, how she utilizes them. And it's similar to what Helen had said with Calendly, but much more dynamic. And that's something that we're going to be looking at, from a broad perspective to see if that's something that would, resonate with our team, our office, and maybe even, with the board.
Yeah, I think just to repeat, the CBS, call before showing code, I think is crucial for all of us. Because again, I won't give out the CBS code until I get the PEAD form back. And, it's otherwise, I think I have greater liability, and I think the other agent has greater liability if we don't get that PEAD, and sometimes it's a hassle.
Yep.
But here's my challenge as a showing agent. How do you stay on time when you've got 5, 6, 7 properties you're showing? You're trying to figure out the traveling time in between. If a client likes a property, they spend a little more time there. Now you're behind. Any suggestions from the group here as to how to stay on track? Go ahead, Zaid.
Doug, you can take a bite if you want.
I was just going to say, if my listing is one of them, put us first.
Good answer.
First at what time, right? Is it at 12? Is it at 2? So here's the way I train my agents is as you have your route, make it most efficient in driving. So obviously sometimes you can't fit in the times that you want to, pushing back with the listing agent if it's possible. So when you look at 6 or 8, for example, you have to sign all these PEAD forms, get them back, schedule the appointment, and then you get into your calendar. I live by my calendar. All my team members live by their calendar. So we have, for example, Michael 1. So I'm showing you the first property, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I leave 30-minute increments in between, back to back to back within a 30-minute increment. So Michael 1, and then in the address tab, so I can just click on it. If you have a Tesla, you're in heaven when you're showing these properties because it just shows up right in your screen. I'm not getting paid by Tesla, just to be clear. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and at that point, I actually take a screenshot of that, send it to the client, and tell them we need to be strict with timing. Is there going to be any delays? So they're on board. So if they don't like a home and we're running behind, you know what? We're driving out. I'll text the listing agent. We didn't like the neighborhood. We're not going in. So let's go ahead and save that 20 minutes. So actually, again, we're a lot more efficient during showings because sometimes the client would like to spend 45 minutes in the property and they hated the property. So I'm like, okay, guys, let's not waste time. Let's follow the schedule. That is one method we use, or multiple.
That's a wonderful idea. And what I try to do is I try to build in a little bit of a cushion just in case. There's traffic sometimes. If they like a house, they're going to spend a little longer. But I find putting a cushion in there really relieves the stress off of me as well. But it's a challenging time, folks. So let me ask you this final question real quick. If you were a brand new agent starting now, what would you do to be successful? Angie, what would you do?
Why do you always start with me? Darn it.
You got a good answer. I know you do.
Well, the thing is that, like I mentioned earlier, and I'm not sure, how do you pronounce the name of the person that said that they would be willing to help or doing a Facebook Live?
No, I don't know.
Moro is the last name?
Them. Yeah, we'll text them.
Yes.
Peel, I think.
So the thing is that, and earlier we were discussing, I think Helen had said as well about that 2008, that was a tough one. That was a tough one, those years that followed. This is, yes, challenging, different, and we're going to get through all this. But I would just really say to the new agent, I mean, zero in an area, or of course, go back to your relatives and friends and contact them. I mean, I've said it before, we're doing a bunch of corny things, and speaking about corny things, you know, we're sending out popcorn, our favorite movies and all that to our friends and even relatives as our SOI, but just trying to stay out there. So to the new agents, you know, when you're just starting, do something creative right now, especially when we can't really be out there. You know, this is something funny. I used to love to do open houses, and I still do, but the thing, I don't think it was my open house that people liked, but they're requesting my cookies. Can I deliver them cookies? That's what they're missing. But anything like that for the new agents, I mean, or like I said earlier, see if you can shadow or follow along with, you know, a top producer. And of course, you know, we have all this, what is it, with our mask and our gloves and everything. Yeah. But let's get creative with all this. We can get really creative with it. And instead of, we got to turn the negative into a positive. And what we think about is what we bring about. So let's just have fun with this, with what's going on. But the new agents, check out a top producer. See how you can come in and assist.
Great opportunity, isn't this? Look at the positive. I love your attitude, Angie. Thank you so much. Zaid,
you're welcome.
New agent. If you were a new agent now, what would you be doing?
You know, back to Doug's point, people need you more than ever, and you just have to be top of mind, being there for them. Database, don't sell a property and disappear, right? Continue to connect with them. It's very key. I think any top producer's business that's been in the industry for over 10 years, probably you're looking at 50% minimum is repeat business, unless you're under the Mike Ferry organization. So go join a coach right away. They have all the tricks. They can hold you accountable. If you're going to join a broker, make sure you hold your broker accountable to actually show you the ropes. What Angie said, go to a top producer. You know what? Go put out their booties in the property. Go be of service to them so they can actually help you out. When the buyer calls and they don't have the time to go show that buyer that wants to see their listing, they can actually get it to you. So you can go and show the property. Maybe you can actually get them in contract or close them for an appointment, or simply join a team. So, and what that means is, what is it, your goal you're trying to get? Are you trying to sell 5 properties a year? Do you want to be a top producer? If you want to be a top producer, go join a coach right away.
Beautiful. Thank you. Doug, if you were brand new, what would you be doing right now?
Well, I think Angie and Zaid said it perfectly. You know, what Zaid said, as far as, you know, having a coach or joining a team, you know, a lot of agents, when they first start off in the business, they're taught to hold open house, hold other agents open houses, door knock, you know, and it's just not something you can do in today's environment. So if you are a new agent or you're new to the business and you're looking to join a brokerage, you know, you want to look at someone who caters to new agents, who has training programs available, who has a mentorship program available, who has coaching programs available. And if not, I mean, look at joining a team. You know, with the team, you're going to get the, you know, education, you'll get the support, but you're also going to get leads given to you. If you're not looking to do that, if you're looking to move forward as an individual agent, I think you're going to have to really dive deep into your database, your sphere of influence. And even though you're a new agent, you can do like Angie said, you can shadow or partner with a more experienced agent and use their expertise and their experience, you know, to promote yourself. Also, you know, social media is great, but one thing I wanted to point out is, and this isn't necessarily just for new agents, but experienced agents as well. You know, we're having a difficult time. You know, a lot of our clients are having a difficult time, and I think over the next year or two, we'll continue to have difficult times, and they may be at risk of losing their home, and they don't know what to do. They don't know who to turn to. They may be too embarrassed. Reach out to them. Let them know that you're a resource. Even if you're new in the business, you have resources available to you. So if they're falling behind on their payments or you know, their default, you know, you can talk to them about forbearance, a loan modification, a short sale, or even with the bank to avoid foreclosure and get them back on track. So, if you're a new agent and you know somebody out there who needs that, even if you don't have the experience, there are agents in your brokerage, there's agents at SCORE, there's agents on this panel who are experienced in that, who would be more than happy to help you and your clients. So that's a good way to reach out to your clients and let them know that you are a resource for them if they're struggling.
Wonderful. Thank you. I like to tell new agents, you're new as an agent, but you weren't born yesterday. You have other experiences that you can use to help your clients. So I want to thank you all. Angie Koch, Century 21, M&M, Zaid Hanna, Real Estate 38, Doug Goss, Keller Williams, Bay Area Estates. Thank you so much for making this a fabulous program.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Good job, everybody. Great information.
My pleasure. And I just want to remind you that I want to thank our sponsors. Again, Bank of the West, Golden One Credit Union, First American Home Warranty, TAPS Termite, and HomeGuard Incorporated. Please support your sponsors, and I wish you the best of luck